Welcome back, everybody, and I'm apparently that one guy from One Piece. Anyway, here I am once again in the world log, in the chasm, very slowly hunting down slimes for slime, obviously, because of course I need to craft a bunch of slime blocks for a reason you'll see quite shortly. And this episode is going to be a bit less focused in this world, because I want to get it out sooner than later. And I already have, I think, 40 minutes of footage to run already. But today is going to be the storage system planning episode, because I have some more grinding to do. And what we're going to do is we're going to hand things off to me in the past to go ahead and explain the plan and run through the major steps of the design process. Because by this point, I've kind of designed most of the system. There's some things left, but the theory's there. And if you're not too interested in redstone mumbo jumbo kind of stuff, then this maybe isn't the episode for you, because it's going to be very technical. But hopefully I break it down so that it is, in the spirit of mumbo jumbo, actually quite simple. So let's go ahead and hand it off to me in the past. Alright, it is me from the very distant past, so distant past in fact that the last episode isn't even uploaded yet. But I'm here to explain what the idea is behind the storage system that I will be building in that giant pit beneath the woodland mansion. So this is based roughly off of the Shovel's silo system that I did a long time ago. But it's going to be based off of having a storage stack of minecarts for each item index. And by item index, I mean that I will have, I think it's somewhat laid out on this giant stone wall here, an index for every single item in the game that at least that I want to store, where different items will have a certain index that will either be on a paper or a block representing that sort of index, that will assign them to a single chest worth of item stacks. And I've fallen. But over here, we have a system that should be able to search through those indexes and pull items based off of that index. So the basis of that storage system, of course, is the stack pulled from that original Shovels stack system. Shovels, by the way, for those of you who haven't been here on the channel for a long time, Shovels stands for Storage Highly Optimized by Velocity Engineered and Loaded Shulkers. It's an acronym I came up with a long time ago for my shulker box storage system that I'm still pretty proud of today, and that I've compacted into a very small space at this point. But what we've got is a stack of minecart chests, which does mean this storage system will have a lot of entities. But hopefully I can minimize that. Hopefully a stack of this size will pretty much suffice for how I've distributed the items out. But the basis is that these minecarts will be already indexed as they come in and fall in onto this stack of minecarts. So if I go ahead and activate that there, minecart comes off the powered rail, falls into place where it needs to be. And whenever I need to pull out a minecart from that stack, all I have to do is flip that lever and it'll go off on its way, off into the terminal at the top in the woodland mansion. Now, of course, the question is how to do those index items. And the idea is that we'll have a single item or maybe multiple for a multi-tiered index system for faster calling, but at the very least, a single index item at the top left, and the other 26 slots left for shulker boxes. And here we just have a mock-up minecart chest where we have that index and a site, and just the minecart to symbolize the many shulker boxes. And when we flick this lever, the minecart will go into that lava. That just signifies it going down to the rest of the line. That will eventually go down to re-receive that index so that it can be loaded back to the top again. But that index item will go down to the next segment here, if we have this block or this barrel as a hopper, this would then get pulled down and sent into our next system, which is the index item searcher. So you can see the items get sent in. These three devices aren't perfectly aligned with how they're constructed, but that's a very simple adjustment once I get them all linked together. But we will have a minecart with hopper here, and that will grab that index item and send it over a series of item filters. Now these item filters will not be a single item filter for every single block. It'll be a single item filter for every single index, which is significantly less than doing 2 item filters, one for calling in, one for storing, for every single block in the game, because that's just a lot of item filters, and this circuit is honestly pretty boring, and constructing it some number of thousands of times isn't something I want to do. And so having a limited number of item filters here sort of maximizes, well, A, efficiency of how quickly it takes to get to a certain indexed minecart chest stack, but B, does indeed prevent me from having to build this many, many times. But this minecart will pick up that index item, send it over the index searcher, and just return to its original position. And that index item will trigger a circuit down here. Now these observers are just sort of symbolic lines that will go off to whatever stack of items. So again, we've got that stack of items here. And this will then trigger the point in the stack where we have that stack of items. So those observers there will connect up to these observers here. These here, or this minecart here, will travel to where this lava is, and that lava symbolizes coming back over to this index item outline. It'll receive that item, and then according to whatever that index item is, it will be manipulated to go to the corresponding stack. And so we have a route to get items returned to their proper stack, as well as a signal that if I send in an index item, and perhaps if I grab a hopper here and feed it in right here, if I send in an index item and have it search, it'll also send out an appropriate signal to receive the item there. Now that I think about this, this may or may not mean I need to build the index searcher twice, one to store and one to retrieve. But I think I can get away with having a state switch somewhere where if it's in a certain state, it will fill in, or if it's in a certain state, it will call out. But I think I can do it smart enough that the order of operations means that if it's a cart going in, it'll be stored, and if it's a cart coming out, it'll be pulled out. I'll have to think about the order of operations there, but that's a problem for future me, who exists after the last episode has been released and has more time to think about things. All right, it is future me now, and well, it's still past me, probably to when I started the episode, but I've finally added the basic terminal here. And what this will do is if I get a storage minecart here, and right now I just have 3 indices set up, so we're going to go ahead and grab them here. We're just filtering 3 items, or three indexes, which would have multiple items under them. Looks like we don't have a cart for every index, so I think what I'll start with is storing one under the cobbled deep slate index. And you know what? Yeah, let's show how that works. So I'm going to store, yeah. So place a cart here. I'm going to store a cobbled deep slate index. And all I have to do is press this button to return that storage cart to where it belongs. So I press this button. I've got a circuit here that needs to be refined. But that goes down. It will trigger the system to start looping. It'll pull that index item. It'll register what index that is from that cart, and it'll send it to the right stack. So I just stored cobbled deep slate, and it's in the cobbled deep slate column. One thing to note here, I'm probably going to, there's probably already a tutorial or a showcase of this device already, but one thing to note here is that In this setup here, it kind of reverses a little bit. No, it doesn't really reverse, but it kind of shifts between this layer and this layer. And so when you have an index here, it'll trigger a blocking piston right here, or it's supposed to. Turns out the redstone's doing a little bit different things than I expected, but it worked out in the end. But basically, it's supposed to block the cart from traveling any further than here, which means it stops in the one to the left. So this item filter technically isn't doing anything. This whole circuit, if you kind of divide it here and divide it here, you can just kind of tile that infinitely, or at least probably infinitely, within reason, within chunk loading. But yeah, the one on the end here wouldn't do anything for an index here. So this is a null filter in this position at the very end, which you can see I kind of already wrote over it, or built over it. This position is null. Nothing will ever end up here. All right, but now that we have 3 carts stored, here is the first test of requesting a cart. Of course, first thing is to flip this lever. This is not hooked up quite yet to the what is this called? The terminal. So if I go ahead and flip this, it'll switch the system into request mode, which means any carts that come through here will be filled with request indices. And they'll currently just go into the lava because I don't. They would just go back to the terminal and then be deconstructed up there anyway. And so those will go down here instead of dropping down to be stored. So we don't have to worry about request carts being stored in the storage area. And then we have that request gets sent down through some wall stone. Oh man. I think this is the first time I'm ever really using this in any significant capacity. To send that down, some railstone. I hardly ever use this too. I'd probably use it a couple times, but I hardly ever really do anything with railstone. But this sends the signal over here to pull whatever minecart the indice is called. So if, let's say this is the iron ore, we should see this piston triggers sending a signal down to this observer here, pulling out the, ooh, do I have that offset by 1? Ooh, that might be a bug. Or did I do something smart and it's not a problem already? That pulls that. Oh yeah, okay, I see. Huh. That is an issue. Okay. That's going to be difficult to solve. Yeah, I need to shift by 1. I do have a clever solution around this that would require just shifting this row, having sort of like interstitial blocks, and then shifting it to the left with a piston. That would limit how wide this can be tiled, which is unfortunate. Huh. Well, we'll test it and see what happens anyway, because science. There we go. We'll put in the indices that we want to call. Currently, this doesn't do multiple of the same indices. So like say I want 2 polished granite indices. That currently doesn't work. I'm thinking about once this goes down here, I separate out each indice into its own cart for individual pulling. But yeah, let's go ahead and send that there, and I'm going to guess everything opens 1 block to the right. Let's go ahead and watch here as it goes down. Well, I would have done something. I have flicked this lever. I am confused. I forgot a repeater. That can be of any signal strength, I believe. Okay. Well, we can grab some of the indices back from the indice cart. Bup, bup, bup. All right, and now let's pull it again. Let's see what happens here. So we should see these blocks are already down, which is supposed to happen. But we should see... Wait, did only this one activate? Did I miss some redstone somewhere? I am confused. I might have missed redstone because I use... Oh, that's just a regular carrot on stick. I use the Bling Edit data pack, which hasn't been updated in like 7 years, maybe? It feels like a long time, but it also feels correct. So I have the original build of this sort of base machine here, and then this is the version with the terminal, which means that the cloning command sometimes has hiccups on redstone components and other non-full blocks. So it's possible some things got missed, but I don't see why they would have been. Let's try another test. Not there anymore. I put it up here, and then I do this, this, and that. That goes down. Yeah, I just see this one activating. Oh, I should look at the back. Up, up, up. Up, 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 up. Oops. Well, we'll see what happens there. Oh, it didn't get the signal to start, so it's not going to do anything anyway. Cool. So at least I've got some foolproofing. Alright, let's watch this again. Now it's going to grab the indices. It only grabs one index from the cart. I see. That makes sense. Okay, okay. Well, now I've got to figure out some weird geometric pattern to... So since things are one to the right on the pulling side, I've got to figure out some weird geometric pattern to get things to shift one block to the left. It's going to be curious. Ooh, can I use slime and honey to fix that? Maybe. Well, that's for future me to solve, and future me is going to be in existence in like 10 seconds. So, yeah, he's gonna have some issues. Well, 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 it is me in the future again at 3:30 in the morning, and after a handful of different methods for how to shift that signal, those honey block machines being for trying to shift the minecart itself, and then back there you can see some devices. Oh, you can see right there where my crosshair is very closely is a system for shifting that signal by shifting the minecarts with rails instead of honey blocks, which is definitely a much easier and less buggy solution. This here has some errors on the seams that you could fix just by having them staggered by a large amount. This one actually has some inefficiencies. I think this is functional, but it does still have that sort of seam error. So I would have to have a full junction, or full offset for that, rather than just having it next to each other off by one. So unfortunately this was too big for what I want to do, and of course the goal after this clip is to do a whole bunch of compacting where I can, simplifying some of the logic and all of that, making things as quick as possible. So we have that rail solution there, and another one that directly interfaces with the wallstone. So it's just literally shifting that redstone signal over by one. And this is with some sort of A-B tiling of the system here. So if I remove this wall, you should see this line flash. So, keep your eye on that, and I'll go ahead and break that here. And you can see it gave a flash. And so that is, if I want to do it in a very long form, turns out the interface down there that I have is fairly compact, very, very close to where the signal needs to end up. So I ended up doing a design where that signal goes back out, the end at this end, and then the signal goes off in this direction. Because it turns out even having it just this way is too close for comfort there. Because we only have like 3 blocks and I need 4 based off their current positions. Let's see. Here I've got 1, 2. Oh, I've got 2 blocks here to work with. So yeah, I needed to flip it over to the other side. And so we have a design that can shift that signal over by 1 with very little error. It just means there was a little bit of delay, so I added some onto this line here, which makes sure nothing gets pulled from when you reset the index signals. So, long-winded sort of segment and update introduction over. Well, almost over. We now have this very, very, very basic interface here. Very much the very first prototype where everything is kind of garbage, but it works well enough. But I can shift into survival mode here. /G tab space S tab. There we go. And so this is operatable in survival mode. And we've got 3 indices that we can search for. We still have just cobbled deep slate, iron ore, and polished granite. Obviously, these could be named items, which you probably already remember very easily from the last clip. For me, it's been a while. But I can get a minecart out from here. This would preferably, in a later version, just be a switch, and then it'll give you a minecart to put a token in. Let's get some granite, because that's... Actually, no. Let's go in the middle first. So cobbled deep slate is kind of in the middle of those item filters there. I think I've got some stored. You know what? We'll put it in storage mode just to make sure. We'll store up some cobbled deep slate. Press the button to send it off. Return cart to storage. And then we'll get another minecart here. Let's get some. Make sure granite's got something in it. We'll send this off here. And then minecart with chest, and I think it was the iron that I didn't put in. So let's go ahead and do that, and here we go. And so now that'll fly off down there. That'll send the next signal down. It'll rifle through, go to the right place. Okay, yeah, so that was the granite, and then now that was the iron ore. And so you can see it went down that line there, which means it ended up in one place offset, which that signal offset stuff that I showed at the beginning of the clip, that all should function. So now we can flip things into request mode. So a very basic interface here, which just, it takes that signal and inverts it for displaying what mode it's in. Let's see, I need my minecart. And like I said at the beginning of testing this out, let's try and request something in the middle, because it's not quite at the beginning, not quite at the end, as the middle usually is. So we can double check, it is in requesting mode. We can press this button here. And hopefully we should see in a minute. It will take a little bit of time. So that goes through. It's now pulled for the right thing. And that should be a chest with cobbled deep slate. Now it does pull up into the queue here. I'm sure there's something I could do with the detection. There's probably some extra logic I could add to make sure that, if there's nothing already in the queue, it'll just go through. But I can press this button and call the next minecart from the queue. And hopefully, if everything is right, there should be cobbled deep slate. Did I do this right? Woo! I can finally sleep now. So that successfully called forth the cobbled deep slate. Let's be ambitious and try and do another call here. Let's get some iron ore from the end. We're just going to call all 3. So we're going to get a series of blocks. We do currently just have to do the index one at a time. One of the things I can add with this, having this line here, is I could fill up a cart with indices, and it would bring in a line that brings it over in some area where it breaks the requesting cart down into individual items, and then those items individually go through the system. Now, of course, some error saving I could do is if I accidentally send a storage cart, which would have a bunch of shulker boxes. Oh yeah, I need to also hook up a shovels stack system up here so that I can throw a shulker box out and just access its contents very easy. But if I do send in a storage cart while it's in requesting mode and it breaks it apart, if a cart goes in and the shulker box is an index, it will just end up on that error line there. And of course that error line just currently leads to lava. That would need to come back to the top. And hopefully some there for easy figuring out what that index is. Most likely, the shulker boxes will be named with the same name as the index, so that I can just very easily pair things with the indices that I have stored in this chest. And of course, another thing that's very much important to have is that if we have any extra carts, they will just automatically come back to this chest. But yeah, let's go ahead and be a little ambitious. Send off some signals. So we can go ahead and store this. So we're no longer going to request it, we're just going to store it. So that'll go in. Ooh, and if I switch this, switch too early, one error. Oh, right, because the request cart just goes into lava once the request is finished. So yeah, that lava should bring the cart and the index back into these chests. But for now, it destroys it. Anyway, if I were to flick this switch back to storage mode early enough on, that index cart would then be sent into whatever storage stack it went into, and then there'd just be a cart with an index just kind of sitting around there, and then nothing else inside. So there's a little bit of foolproofing to do to make sure that this line only changes when it's time to change. But let's go ahead and be a little ambitious. Let's switch it to requesting mode again. Send in a couple requests. So first, polished granite at the beginning. This is right now is just a very instantaneous flicking of that switch. Or at least as instantaneous as it needs to be relative to the other speeds of the system. All right, so we got a request there. I didn't actually have to wait to send this next request. We do have a bit of logic to save from that. You can see a pulse extender down there that checks if there's things going into the system. Oh, and here we should have our, this would be the granite, yes. And then I can take it off of index mode, or request mode. And we can just store this, because right now there's no real difference between the storage and index cards, because we don't have any shulker boxes preloaded. So I can send this off and get my next card in. And wow, I got my iron ore, which is the second thing I requested. And so that is the system functional. It can do what it needs to, but it can be improved a whole ton. This might kill me. As you can see, the redstone here is a bit of a spaghetti mess. Very much so when we go over here. Where? Here. This stuff here. Let's just go back into creative. I can't press F4 to switch into creative mode because that's my recording key. G tab space C. There we go. Yeah, this little bit of logic is could be improved. This whole section here could be improved. The timings are kind of weird. The slime block structure is a little weird. It all could be fine-tuned and sped up for sure. Plus, I have all of those other bugs to work on. But we have a functional design. I could build this in my survival world as is, and I would have a storage system that functions. And actually, we'll do a speed test real quick. We should have some iron in there because I've been putting a bunch of carts in there. Yeah, we do have iron stored in the system. So we're gonna do a speed test from pressing this button to the time we get that iron back, and we'll go ahead and measure how long that is. And this should be the longest time, because it's actually no, requesting this will be the shortest time because it's at this side. Granite would be the longest time, but it's a small difference. All right, so speed test is started. You should see a number somewhere on the screen counting up. I think it goes in the left-hand corner. And there we go. So now if I press this button to get this in, time stop. And that's how long it takes for the entire system to run through, not just the elevator, like the speed test I did in the last episode. Because there, in this specific chain here, there's some things that can be more efficient. Only by a couple blocks. Actually, yeah, this logic here is slow. So even that can be improved. This system here can probably be improved as well. There's a whole bunch of things that can just be, enhanced. But yeah, I've said it many times before because I am very tired. We've got a functional design. That is exciting. I'm just too tired to be any more excited than I already am. All right, so on to the next prototype, which may or may not come with a spin transition. Wow, I remembered a spin transition. This definitely isn't a clip that's getting re-recorded because I realized I was supposed to spin. Anyway, I've upgraded the system here for speed purposes. I think there's some extra improvements I can do down here too. But the main slowdown was that that logic that detects whether or not we're going to break the system or we're going to have a minecart get stuck anywhere. So what we've got is a system that now is a lot smarter about how it goes about things. It doesn't kind of just do timings by feel. Well, maybe a little bit, because this line here is kind of timed by feel still, based off of how long it takes for a minecart to travel along this line here. That's the only thing that's by feel, to be adjusted with however long the line becomes. But the logic here basically says if we activate the system, we deactivate the ability to activate it. If this cart returns to its home position, which is measured by this detector rail, we will enable the ability to activate the system again. And so that way we don't get a random cart that just kind of travels through there with no real guidance of a searcher cart. I should name this cart, so I call it the searcher cart, so I remember what to call it. Anyway, where were we? We were over at, so that's the basis of the logic for, when activation and deactivation, or I guess when activation is activated, enabled or disabled. There we go, words. So how do we actually send that signal into the system here? So there's two ways we do that. One is if a cart travels through and is sent through the system, it will either end up at this detector rail, which says that it has been put on the lower rail to find its position. And that is this piece of rail here is the last position we can actually measure it, I think. Yeah, I think it's the last place we can reasonably take a measurement of its position, which is why that line over there is by feel. But if it is detected here, if a storage cart is detected here, we know that it's going to its place, and then we kind of measure the timing by feel. Or we also have if a request cart has gone to its position here, and basically has traveled through the system. If request cart has gone, we also send a signal down this line, and this line goes ahead, and I need to just kind of, whoopsie, I need to destroy that piston and put this here, because honestly, it doesn't need to be anything else. This is actually obsolete, I think. We'll see if I just broke it when we do a speed test in a second. But if we have a signal coming down this line here, it will come up here and push in this observer, which pulses a signal to this observer, which then activates the system if this block is in a state where it can be activated. But whenever whenever the system is activated through this note block, it will send a signal out through here into these two pistons. This one here deactivating any signals, or basically disabling any ability to receive a signal from here. Now, if we drop a cart into here, which is the maybe a little bit more complicated version, it's basically these two pistons but vertical. If we drop a cart in here, it will pass through this tripwire that says, hey, we've got a cart in the system. This extra delay here is just enough for that cart that's fallen to go from this position onto the trapdoor. So this is a precise-ish timing. I think I could maybe tweak it by a couple ticks. But this will push down this slime block chain, and that will send a pulse through the system if it's ready to be pulsed. If it's not ready to be pulsed because some other stuff is going on down here, like one of the previous carts is still traveling through or something like that, it won't be able to activate the system with this observer, and this observer becomes pretty much useless. And what happens is it pushes this block down, which enables that observer there to activate through this whenever it's ready. And so when this is then ready to receive a new cart, it will send a pulse as per usual to reactivate the system. But that signal also sends in let's see, that's pretty much a 1-tick delay. So pretty much instantaneously, it will say, now let's go ahead and activate the system because we're ready to do so. And so that cart will drop down. It will pull the item from this hopper here, or it will pull the item from that either storage or request cart to figure out where it goes and do all of its logic. And hopefully that is a decent explanation as to how that logic is a little bit faster than this system over here that basically functions off by it should probably take this many, or this big of a pulse extender for the cart to travel through. And this is an overestimation. And then there's just some very ugly logic to figure out how to do things, and it's not at all foolproof. And sending a cart in requires this amount of delay versus sending it in instantaneously if it can. Anyway, with the speed upgrade, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and double check that I've stored some granite here, because granite takes the longest to call out because it's at the end of the searcher cart's path, as well as the farthest point for things to travel back to that water stream. And we can go ahead and place in a system 2 request mode. Place in our request item. Typically this is in the top left. Send that through, and our speed test has begun. I'm actually going to break this trapdoor because that little slowdown is an error or like a problem with the terminal design itself versus, oh, here we go, speed test end, versus the abilities of the redstone machine below. In fact, I think I can even compact it down even more. So as you saw, we had this time, which is hopefully shorter than the 15 to 17-ish seconds for, actually it's definitely gonna be shorter, I hope, I think. It feels shorter than the previous system. Now with that time upgrade, there's one time upgrade I'm considering, depending on how long that is. If that was under 10 seconds, I don't think it's at all worth the extra resources it would take. But what we could do, since we've figured out how to shift that signal by one to the left, what we could do is we could move these stacks forward when they're being stored. So part of the storage process rather than part of the call process. And then those stacks can be stacked up a little farther up this the length of this bubble column. So perhaps even in this space here. A possible but probably not functional solution is with bubble columns, just sending things into basically a very wide bubble column and then dropping them down a little closer to the request site. The only problem is I'm not entirely sure how I would call things out of that. That could be something I test. But if we get these much closer to the top, by the time we're ready to call it out, call the storage card out, it will already be up a significant amount of this bubble column, which will, I'd say this is maybe like half the time the bubble column, because this request system is pretty quick. It's basically wallstone, so it's instantaneous. Wallstone, 4 ticks of delay, 1 tick of delay, I think, from the pistons, and then it just requests. And so getting things up closer to the top would save a significant amount of time. It's just a matter of, is it worth it? I don't know. That's for me to figure out. Because I'm pretty sure I could just reflect this up and then send the signal over. That would probably compact things quite a bit. Ooh, I do like compacting things. I'll have my work cut out for me, that's for sure. But once again, it is in a state where I could technically, it is still in a state where I could technically build it in my survival world. And I would have a functional system. And of course that means at any point here, I could just say, hey, we're done designing, it's ready to go. But I like compacting things. Perhaps a little bit too much. So we're gonna compact this. I'm gonna make it simpler, but also smarter. Alright, new round of compactions. What we've done is we've wrapped the stacks from being down here. As you can see with that design, they go ahead and drop down from this point here, this level, into their respective stack, and they are sent all the way back up to the top here through this bubble column. And I've tested over there that the bubble column is not going to misalign anything, so we're not going to have any trouble with them bumping or getting out of their specific channels here. So hopefully, after many rounds of bug fixing, because the cloning process is not perfect, we can go ahead and place a card up here, and we're going to store some granite. We are in storage mode, so I'm going to hit this button, follow this through. So it drops down, hits the tripwire activates the system. It goes down, the index is pulled, it goes down that mine cart, the specific location is selected there, and then everything is reset back to the correct position. And now we've got 3 indexed granite carts here. The rest of them are just kind of dummy carts because I didn't feel like filling them. So now what we're going to do is we're going to call a granite out by switching into request mode. You can see that activates all of these pistons. Now something that has been giving me trouble is the fact that we have this reset line. I've gone and disabled it because I have no clue what it's supposed to do. All it does is it calls every cart. I think it's a holdover from a previous design where all of these pistons get stuck forward by one, but I've fixed that error by just putting delays in all of the repeaters. Also, a new shift by 1 design here instead of the old one that is over and down there. This one uses sand to hopefully be a little more sophisticated, so that if this piston comes up, it just sends a signal through the sand that's pulled only, it soft powers the sand, so it's only pulled by the repeater. The observer here goes into a slab here, so when it comes down it doesn't do anything. Over here it comes down, doesn't do anything because it's into air. This piston here would go into this redstone here. Doesn't power anything with the sand, so that doesn't pull into this line. I think. Yeah, that checks out. That hasn't been giving me any problems, I don't think. let's just test something real quick. Yep, nope, that doesn't point into the sand. We're good. So when that piston raises up, it goes into this line, activates this piston, observer goes forward, all good to go. Now I'm going to go ahead and request this, and we're going to watch what happens up here, because I've been having issues with multiple callouts. And it's going to be the same thing. Oh, wait, are we still in storage mode? Or request mode? No, it's request mode. Okay, I'm going to watch. All right, so that did only pulse one of them. That did call a single card out. That is our granite. And now what we can do is we can just press this button to get the cart we just called out. And it settles here. And hooray! I've found all of the bugs, hopefully. I'm sure there will be plenty more testing to do. But as we can see here, we've got a functional design. It is wrapped around. The callout times are reduced by moving the stacks up towards the top. And of course, if we want, we can actually make this column just go, or if we want more carts in the stack, we can just have this column go further up. We can also raise the terminal up as well. The terminal doesn't have to be set at its location. It can be raised up however long I want. Although I will have to deal with the fact that these slime block lines need to go down, but that's not a difficult problem to solve. So we've got a functional terminal, functional in air quotes. I can't do air quotes in Minecraft too well, but we have a terminal. It can store items, it can call items, we can store our extra carts here, we can store our indices here. Ideally, those extra carts that get disposed of will just return up here. That's a problem for me to just build in the world log world. And I think at this point I'm going to call the design functional enough. As you can see, I am back in the skin that I was at in the beginning of the video, the One Piece pirate skin. I'm only a few episodes in. Anyway, so we've got a functional design. We can build in the world log. I think I'm going to call it here, because at this point, it's as functional as it needs to be. Everything can do what needs to be done. I can program by hand all of the, let's just switch into spectator so we can move faster, all of the chest indices as I go along. I still need to, oh boy, I need to grind out all of the shulker boxes to fill these things. But that is for a next episode problem. I'm in a slightly transparent head now. So let's go ahead and head back to the world log. Now that we've got a functional design with minimal call-out times, because of course the stacks are now closer to the terminal, rather than having to be called all the way from down here, which was a functional design. It just took longer than I would like it. And this halves that time. Actually, it might even make it better because there's less delay in the system. Anyway, to the world log. Oh, but not so fast. I did a little bit of looking around, also a little bit of cleanup. I removed that reset line because the reason it existed, if we go down to one of the original builds here, is because we used this wallstone design where the wall positions needed to be reset, which would pulse through the system. And so that line that would reset, yeah, this, oh yeah, oh wow. Wait, what? Yeah. This line that would reset all of the pistons here, all of the wall positions, would trigger all of the trapdoors, which is why we had a reason to pull all of these pistons up during the reset there. We don't need it anymore because we switched away from that wallstone design with this new build that wraps things back in on itself. So instead of going just straight down in a diagonal line, we now kind of have this wrap around, which means we can use this fun setup here where we can actually pull the signal directly from the item filters. Note that this one on the end here is kind of a null filter. It doesn't actually need to be here. It just kind of represents the tiling of everything in that direction. And also another thing is that this line here also doesn't mean anything because things are shifted to the left by 1 by the time it drops down. This is in case, I guess, the cart doesn't have an index. It just would return back to the terminal. Other thing to note that I didn't already note in the previous clip, new rail, new stack unloading rail design. It's pretty simple to set up. You just have to put rails on top of the trapdoors and then break them in a certain order, and that'll fix things. And depending on how your rails go, I had the easiest time. This probably has something to do with orientation in the world. That way, there is west, that's south, that's north. I was able to just set up all of these rails and these blocks here, and then just start building it in this direction. So just placing the rails in the order I just hovered over them. And that was able to pretty easily, hassle-free reconstruct, or I guess originally construct this rail setup here. And it fits nicely on top here. Granted, fits nicely on top because I kind of designed everything around it, but, it's functional. And functional is good, compact is good. Could it be more compact? Looking at this mess here, probably, now that I've gotten rid of that reset line. Could be more compact. That's a problem for another day. I'm sure with the system being as small as it is, I can, in the future, just tear it out and redesign it, or build a 2.0 right next to it, and then reroute everything to the 2.0, and then destroy this. Since, I don't think I'm going to need that entire chasm underneath the Woodland Mansion. Anyway, speaking of the Woodland Mansion, we might head over there next. Probably. Oh man, me from 2 minutes ago totally called it. We're underneath the Woodland Mansion. If we look at the space we've got here, yep, we don't need all of this. I mined out a lot more than I needed, but I can store some farms down here or something. What we're gonna do is we'll land over here, and honestly, I'm pretty sure that entire system could fit in this nook here of our mined out area. Granted, I think we're going to just put it in the center underneath. I believe right there is my storage terminal sort of area where I've mocked things out. Can I get up here? Kind of. Yeah, that worked. So we go into the Woodland Mansion here. I've got some temporary... yeah, it's still burned down. I've got the area here where I am planning to put the storage terminal, just behind these stairs. Right here is where I would have that hole for where I would access the cart. Why is there dirt there? I guess just because it's a central marker. So here I've got some chests that are all empty. Here we go. Some random storage that I've been kind of using. I've set up some bulk storage areas here for various stone products that I've pulled a lot from. As well as some area to store the woods. So we've got a little bit of it up here. So we could put the storage terminal underneath this section here, or we can just centralize it. I think I'm going to centralize it, just because convenience sake. I might make... I'll have to think about terminal design at a later time. But we can place it here and have a storage system. Hopefully, I've just got the redstone constructed by next episode. Because at this point, if I go ahead and get my shulker box, this is an ender chest. If I get the ender chest and I pull out the shulker boxes. Here we go. Let's just inventory organize real quick here. So we've got redstone blocks. We've got redstone repeaters. We've got comparators. We've got hoppers. We've got chests. We've got andesite. You did what in your box? Oh yeah, piston box. Sticky what? This is sticky pistons. Slime blocks, which I need to still fill up. Actually, this is probably enough slime, but obviously I could have more. We also have observers, and that's it. So, other things I need to collect. Do I have a sign? I can make a sign. Sure, I'll make it out of this. Wood, sticks. Here we go. Can I craft? Yes, I can. So, things I need to collect yet. I need powered rails. O-W-E-R-E-D. That doesn't look right. P-O-W-E-R-E. That's right. Rails. I need regular rails. Just rails. And I need a boatload of mine carts. Iron. I really can't type. It is 6 in the morning. I have not slept. And I think that's it. Oh yeah, glass. This is not an update where I can update signs. Also glass, which I can get in easy bulk amounts from villagers. And that is all I need to collect between episodes to construct that storage system. But for now, it's going to be a little bit before I have the time to do all of that grinding. So, this storage system design is in the theme of my One Piece skin. My treasure to all of you watching, feel free to build it first. I mean, I've technically built it first in creative. Feel free to build it, improve on it. If you do, hey, share the video with me. That'd be cool. Maybe you can show me all the things I did poorly, which is probably quite a few. But that's going to do it for today's episode. So like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time with the storage system, hopefully. It's going to be a lot of grinding. Oh man, I've got to get the shulkers still. I forgot about that one. Well, bye.